and call the meeting to order at 6:31. And I guess entertain a motion to adopt the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion on that? Okay, approved by acclamation. And now the 7:15 Finance Committee minutes, which I wasn't there for that meeting. I did watch it later and then I looked over these. I didn't notice anything, but we have a motion or any changes to that, or
Move to approve.
Second.
any changes or discussion or comments about the minutes? Okay, we'll approve those by acclamation then. And we'll just move on to our capital requests. So the first one we have here is the Marina Gate Arm.
Maddie, you want to start off?
Sure. So yeah, this is a capital request to replace the gate arm system down at the marina. Right now, if you've been down there, you know, we have this one gate that is right there when you try to enter the boat launch. And this is a proposal to replace that with a brand new system that will be installed by our maintenance department. At least that's the proposal. So Bruce has really taken the lead tonight, since this is a maintenance kind of project, and they've done a lot of work getting bids and putting a proposal together. So Bruce can kind of go over what his ideas are. But this traffic arm we've had significant issues with this season and in seasons past, and we've continued to try and just keep repairing it, but it's just not, it's no longer functioning the way that we need it to. And it most recently had an issue yesterday where it did fail, but then it caught itself. And that was kind of explained in the staff packet to you. But this is something we're definitely concerned about. And I think Bruce can take over, you know, what the actual proposal is.
Okay. Well, we actually looked at just replacing the arm. The problem is, and I won't try to get too technical if you've read the presentation we made up, we can replace the arm, the control unit, but the safeties are still old. We can't guarantee reliability just by replacing that control system. So I took a look at some of the other options, and looking at other boat launch facilities, you'll notice that if they are controlled, they're usually controlled so that there's one entry that allows the vehicle to get in. That vehicle then is inside an area where it can actually maneuver around. It doesn't rely on launching in a control system or safety systems while that boat's being put in the water or while the vehicle's coming out. On top of that, looking at it, we have another gate that really we haven't used for a long time. I believe Andrea is the one that promoted opening it up this year. Problem there is there's controlling boats getting in and out of it. So it's a manual system. It's got a key, if you will, or I think you still have a key. I don't see Andrea. Are you there, Andrea?
Hi, guys. Internet issue.
Here.
It's basically a manual system. It's not kept open. I'm not sure how you control it, but again, it's an uncontrolled access unless Andrea is there.
Yeah.
So with that, I took a look at what could we do, and the proposal we have now basically eliminates the custom design, I'll use that, of what we have right now. It also allows the boat, once it's inside the, I'll say, launching area, to be maneuvered around without worrying of the gate shutting or sticking closed or opening randomly. So that's where it is. I'd be happy to address any questions you might have about the proposal.
I just have a question about, so I know how the two systems work now. So the one where we do, I guess, where people launch maybe like sailboats, the small launch, I think we call it. So do we charge for that as well? Like we do, you know, you can, if you don't have a wet or a dry slip, you can pay for a launch in the main boat launch, but do we also charge for to use that small dock launch?
I think, Andrea, are you available to answer that?
I am sorry, I had to shut my door. I quickly ran home from work and the dogs are still excited. They didn't get out long enough. What was that question again?
I'm just curious,
Do we charge? Go ahead, Karen.
do we also charge to use the smaller launch?
We have not, and that is something that will change if we do get this new gate system. It's going to control both launches, so it's going to affect the canoe kayak people. And so we'll have to come up with a new system for that, but I think it should be fairly easy.
Okay, so canoe kayak, but if you can just launch some stuff off the beach, do you mean, but like if you had a trailer with like a
Yeah,
sailboat or
Several
a,
boats you wanted to back up and whatnot, we could charge a small fee and give them an access card for the season, kind of like just boat launching.
got it, yeah, okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Are people currently launching motorized boats off the other launch that isn't currently gated?
No, that's just really for sailboats and canoe kayak folks.
And
It's-
how often is that used?
I think there's one resident that uses it maybe twice a month because it's never really been an option for people. They would just rather use the regular boat launch.
Yeah,
Is
just to
the-
kind of interject there, we are still required to regulate that launch because it goes into Lake
Yeah.
Whatcom. So that's the other component of this is required, by the county to make sure that people are not launching without, permission, their AAF permit, that kind of thing. So that plays into this.
Because that other gate is not electronic, it does require someone to be there to kind of supervise that gate. You can't just leave it open for people. We can get fined from the county. So that's the reason we don't really use it as well.
How do we manage controlling boats going in and out of that launch from a county perspective?
That's a good question. That's not something I've really talked to anybody about the county. I've just relied on Norm and Bruce with their knowledge and information that they have had and dealt with the launch and the marina. I would be happy to look into that and get anyone information that would be interested in that.
Yeah, Andrea and I did do an inspection of the other facilities along Lake Whatcom where you can launch, and Samish too. And City of Bellingham actually pays for staff members to stand there and check that they have their permits and registration and that they are then able to launch. So we'll obviously go with a gate arm system, but that's how other people do it.
On the south end of the lake, anybody can launch from there, right? And sometimes people are there, sometimes they aren't.
That's correct. I drive by there daily.
Yeah, that's the other public launch, Colin, down there in the south.
What was that, Joe?
That's the other public launch
Yeah, but it's
down
not
by the fire
monitored.
company.
It's not monitored all the time.
No, it's only monitored every once in a while by get the people who are doing invasive species.
Yeah. How much more is it to do this second one? What would this request be if we only did the one launch?
One launch would probably be about 10,000.
It'd be 10,000 less.
No, total.
I don't understand that. Maybe I don't understand the proposal. I thought the proposal was to create an area where there would be access to both launches.
Correct. What I thought you were saying, Colin, was if we went in and replaced the existing control system for that launch, is that what the single launch, is that what you're asking?
Yeah, it just sounds like a lot of money to add a second monitored launch, and it sounds like we're just trying to keep sailboats out of there from any time, and it's more to monitor, and I'm probably missing something, so this is where you tell me why I'm wrong.
No, that's fine. I understand what your question is. One of the things we did when that first went in, I just had come on to Sudden Valley. That's a custom design. It's got 3 main safeties in it. Part of those safeties are a magnetic circuit that detects metal, which would be your boat trailer or vehicle. There's two parts to that. One part's underwater. It wasn't designed, I'll say, to be underwater. So that's a failure point that we're thinking is happening. And with that said, we could replace the control unit, but we're still going to have the safeties there. And they're not protecting the vehicles. I think, Karen, you were the one that was caught, right? Yeah, and then it happened again yesterday. So
Yeah,
right now,
well,
we've got a sign up there that says, use at your own risk. And I can't guarantee if we put a single gate up there again, and neither can the contractor, guarantee that it won't continue to happen.
Yeah, just to clarify, we have 2 gate arms down there. So like Penny said, the proposal is to remove those 2 and install a new 1 arm. And then once you enter that area, the boater could either launch into Lake Whatcom from the actual boat launch or from the soft launch. So there's 2 launches in the very close to one another. So the idea is to remove the 2 that are there and to create 1 gate arm system as an alternative.
So there's not going to be any parking in that area. That's totally for the boat launching. So you're going to move the boat, right?
There shouldn't be any parking in that area right now anyway, because if people do park there, it affects the boat launchers.
But
So
they do, don't they?
well, we've actually resolved that issue quite a bit by removing some parking bumpers
Okay.
and monitoring it a little bit more. It's actually much better. So right now it's just a load and unload zone for the people that have canoes and kayaks that don't rent wrecks from us.
So is this going to be a card reading gate where you have a card to enter the gate?
Yeah. Like
So-
currently, like our existing gate. So we'd still have the same card system and all of that.
So if I'm under,
How much would it cost to replace the existing arm so it actually worked properly and didn't trap anybody?
Can't guarantee that.
What's
Can't
that?
guarantee. Right now, there's nothing, according to the contractor we're dealing with and some other people I talked to, there's nothing that detects metal that's underwater that we can guarantee won't short out eventually.
Yeah, so like Bruce was saying, this was a custom design made quite a while ago, and they have these sensor loops that go underneath the concrete that detect when a vehicle is over. It's kind of like at the border, they can tell, once you passed a certain point. So these detection loops underneath the concrete have been exposed to water because, we have a high water table and it's right there, and they've been compromised. So these detection loops are failing. So that's why the gate arm keeps coming down on vehicles, which is a big risk. And that's why the contractor says they can't guarantee, if we put in the arm itself is not an issue, it's the detection loops underneath the concrete. So that's why we're bringing this proposal, because we wouldn't want to throw good money at a bad system. We want to just completely go with a new system that doesn't have these issues.
I realize now you're explaining this again, which you obviously realize you're doing, and I wasn't looking at the picture and didn't understand what you were saying. It's not your fault, but I get it now. So thank you.
Okay.
This is not a public boat launch,
Yes,
is it?
Yes, it
It
is.
is.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do we have any responsibilities to controlling, making sure the boats have their proper documents?
That is a part of the process. When I sell somebody, whether it's just a boat launch card, they have to fill out a short application and they have to give me their annual AIS inspection number. And then I issue them a card. Non-residents obviously pay twice as much as residents do.
I don't think we have any liability if someone's not there, though. I mean, like I said, the south boat launch, anybody can launch from there. So.
I don't think that's technically allowed, though. I mean, it's very clear that Lake Whatcom requires us to control that.
Yeah.
I know, but if
access.
we're not there, we're not going to get fined or whatever. I guess no one's going to be able to get in there now.
Can I kind of jump in on that? Norm and I have discussed that responsibility. they can actually fine us if somebody goes in there. I believe it's, I'm gonna call it the sheriff that watches the lake. But if he catches a boat going in there on our launch, nobody's stopping him and we have no control over it. Without an AIS, we can get fined for that. That's what Norm's told me.
Okay, well, we've never been fined before.
No,
Okay.
But we don't really want to put the association at risk of being fined,
I,
or potentially having our access taken away from us. That's certainly something they could do. So,
I
You know.
don't want us to get fined either, but I don't want us to act like this is a huge deal that's, when it's actually, it's never really happened.
I think that when Norm had a conversation with the county, and I remember this from our meeting, I think 2 years ago, our Marina meeting, was that someone else had brought up the same point. Well, how are they really going to know? And there was a discussion and the county basically told Norm, you want to go there, I wouldn't open that can of worms. So I guess we don't really want to create a bad relationship with the county, especially with as much waterway as we take up and rent from them.
So what I'm hearing you say in that discussion is that people don't get access cards unless they have an invasive species certificate for this year.
Absolutely.
And that card is only good through like the end of the year, or how does?
The Marina season goes from April 1st to March 31st of the following year. So when I add access to that card, I cut it off on 3/31, and then we have to start our renewal process all over again.
Okay,
And
All
I
right.
have to have that AIS inspection number from the decal on that form before I can even do that.
okay. So unless somebody's giving their card to somebody else, right? Which is, I guess, a
Very
possibility.
possible.
It's
Yeah.
on your boat. It's taped to your boat.
No, I know the AIS sticker, I understand that, but I mean the access card.
Oh,
If somebody's giving that access card to somebody else, then, but that's no different than what we have right now, is that correct?
Correct.
So if I had an access card, which I don't, because I don't have a boat here, so, but if I had an access card and I gave it to Lori because doesn't have an access card and she's gonna go in there and she's gonna use it, and she doesn't have an AIS sticker, then I don't know whether or not we have any liability on that. I mean, I think the liability comes back to me as giving up that card. And
That's
so,
exactly it.
okay.
And if that were to happen and we found out and that was, I mean, we obviously can shut the card down if it's an issue.
And do we have security monitoring this area, security cameras or anything like that that's monitoring this area?
We have
Yeah.
security cameras that are installed down there. Security has been down there this summer during the days just because of issues and security things. And that seemed to have helped actually greatly. So
one of the things, just to kind of jump in, where there is a camera monitoring the current launch ramp. The only problem is it's what I call non-prosecutable evidence. We can't read the license plate. We can definitely see somebody's there. We recognized Karen when she went over to her car just because we knew her. But if somebody launches down there, oh, by the way, the gate habitually sticks in the up position. So anybody can launch while that's going on.
Okay.
So if somebody did that, we tried to get them for theft of services or whatever Norm could prosecute them on. It is going to happen. Oh, it was a gray Toyota with a blue boat. That's about all we could say.
well, and that is part of this reason for needing a new gate system because it does keep failing. And it was stuck in the open position for 3 weeks plus. We had a lot of extra traffic. People, the employees from Blodell were reaching their launch limit. They were sending people to Sudden Valley, and there's not a way unless somebody's standing there checking everybody launching. So that's the reason we had to put the gate back in service because we were getting out of control traffic down there.
Okay.
all right. So thanks for all this information. I mean, the community is going to say, look, we're spending $40,000 on a gate that was $11,000 in the reserve study. That's why I'm being a jerk. Sorry. But if it really is, you know, we are aware of problems with the access to the lake and how important it is that we maintain access to the lake, and we don't want to make the county mad, obviously. And so this solution here actually keeps people from being able to use the other non-gated dock and doesn't allow people to put their sailboats in there without having their AIS sticker. So that's good justification beyond the fact that there's no solution to replace the one that's there. So yeah, I think it's important that we do this.
There was also during that 3+ week period, there were so many non-residents launching, and free, of course. We had a lot of security issues. There was quite a few boats that weren't respecting the wake zone in the marina, which causes damage to our shoreline and our docks, which are already being repaired for damage that they've had. So it's important to keep people in there that are respecting the rules of the marina and the well-being of the marina.
Do we really know that there was a lot of, I mean, we don't know there was a lot of non-property owners.
We actually have, because I'm working down there and people were coming back. We found from video from residents that would call in from this boating activity in the actual active marina part, that they were some teenage non-residents that came in and asked me to launch. And I said, okay, well, you can pay for the day. And they were like, oh, okay. So we matched up those watercraft to the video camera. So we do have some actual situations that were confirmed.
Well, that's still a big, that's, you know, it's a lot of money to make the decision.
Absolutely. I agree.
But
The other part of this that I get is that the kind of technology that you're putting in is the typical technology that would be for a parking lot anywhere.
Yes.
So it's more, shall I say, off the shelf standard equipment as opposed to something specialized for us. Is that correct?
Correct. It would be just what you said, Penny. I'd like to say it's going to be a reliable system. I don't take this wrong. I've got an electronic background, and that gate is, to me, is a very simplistic system until they put the safeties in it. Then it became very complicated. It actually took a person that was part of the installation 3 hours to troubleshoot why it hit Karen's car. He never found a problem.
Yeah.
So what are the sensors going to be for these new systems? It's not going to be an underground thing?
Say again, Lori?
The new monitor for the arm opener, like it's not going to be underground like the current one is.
No, if most of your detectors that you'll find now for parking lots is what can I call it? It's a light shining across where your car would be. If that light's blocked at all, that gate will stay open. When that passes, the gate usually will stay open for, say, 30 seconds or more, and then it closes. If anybody crosses that eye, it'll automatically jump open. That's the safety feature. Nothing about metal detection. Is there a car 30 feet away from the gate or 10 feet away from the gate? That's not part of it.
Yeah, apologize for stepping in here. I just want to make sure that Trang's question's being answered here. She's having some trouble with her speakers and internet. So just wanted to make sure that the question that was brought up in chat was also being...
Yeah, I was responding to her, but I just realized I was responding just to her. So everyone didn't see it necessarily. But Trang, can you hear me? I guess you're receiving my responses because you responded back. So yeah.
Yeah, Trang, just to address part of your question, you kind of missed this part, but the system that we have is a custom design for Sudden Valley. The detection monitors, that say, yes, a vehicle's over the concrete or not, is underneath the concrete and it's been exposed to water. So it just habitually is failing. And that's why we're proposing this new system instead of asking for money to replace it, because like we said, it'd be throwing good money at a bad system because there's no guarantee that it would work, because it's not like the physical arm itself that has an issue. It's the detection loops underneath the concrete that have been exposed to water that are failing. So to replace it with something that's the exact same, we'd have the exact same problems. So that's why we're proposing this brand new system.
I wasn't asking for, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. Sorry, my speakers were, but I wasn't asking because of not replacing it. I just wanted to know if using the same technology that you guys were proposing, what it would take to fix the existing one. Because I kind of agree with Colin. I don't know if it's necessary to have a new system and create a new gate or 2 gates as the proposal is asking. I just would like to know if we fix the existing gate with the technology or whatever is that is required with the new install gate, what the cost would be. Just for comparison, I know we only have one company that does this kind of thing, but I just kind of wanted to see, and I think the community may want to know, like, instead of replacing it and making a new 2 gate, what the cost would be to fix the existing gate with the technology that, update the technology and the equipment, so to speak.
And I'll try to answer that. We probably in the last 3 years have looked at that several times. What we're being told is it's other than the control arm itself, which functions, the safeties, we're going to have the same thing. They have to detect the vehicle. That's a magnetic detector. It's used by wire. The wire's underwater. So whatever we do down there, that technology will always be there. It'll always have a problem. Let's just say getting soaked with water over a period of time.
So Bruce, basically, there's no new technology that would improve on the existing gate.
Correct. We're one of the few, the only one that I'm aware of anyway, that actually uses this type of a technology to launch a boat.
So what I'm hearing is that in order to guarantee that it's reliable, we have to move it away from the water, because that's the
Yeah.
problem, is it's currently
Yeah.
under the water. Now,
Yeah.
I've heard before that there's some drainage, well, I've seen, there's some drainage issues at the water table is high all around the marina. So are we confident that where we're moving it to will, if we're still using this magnetic, whatever, to sense the car, will it stay dry enough where in its
Correct.
current look?
Yeah. Karen, again, let me go back and say the technology we're asking to be put in place now, the new system, I'm going to call it an eye. It's a light that shines across where the gates close.
Okay.
It's not underground.
Okay.
So,
It's just, Karen, it's the same technology that garage doors use.
Okay, that
Oh,
seems simpler.
You're eliminating the existing gate then. That would go away.
Yes.
There would not be any gates on the launch itself, right?
no. Did you by chance see the package that came out?
Yeah.
Tony,
Okay.
if you look at page 12, that gives you a design of what it would look like.
So the black mark, that's the new gate?
No, yes,
Yes.
correct, Trang. The black mark is
Solid
the
black,
new
yeah.
gate, and the white lines are bollards and traffic deterrent setup.
That's to block people from going into that
Yes,
parking area.
correct. Yep.
If
Okay,
it helps,
so the other gate is that the one with the dotted line all the way to the end? That's the
Yes.
second gate? That's
Yes.
where the sailboats or whoever smaller craft is launching off?
Yep.
So the dotted lines are just showing the driving path, is that correct?
That's right.
The black dotted line or dashed lines is just showing the route for cars. That's not anything physical that's going in. The
No.
only thing physical going in is the white dash and dot and the solid black. Is that correct?
Yep.
Yes.
And
Thank you, Joe.
I'm
I didn't
assuming
open
that is the red box that's there, what is that?
there
I
is a-
believe that is the standpipe for the fire company.
Got it, thank you.
Is that correct, Bruce?
Yeah, they're bollards.
Oh, the red box,
by the way,
piece of fire companies.
No, the red box.
okay.
Page 12, yes.
I drew these,
Penny, I
but I
think
don't know
you're
what page they're on.
Penny, I think that is the standpipe.
Okay,
Yeah, the red square is, yes.
okay.
Oh, I see where you're looking at, the red dots. That's the electrical trench that has to go in to get the card reader in.
The red
You're on
box.
page 15,
No, I'm on page
Page
12.
12. It's
page
the-
12. I think I'm over there.
Bruce, I'm holding
Oh,
up.
it's a smaller than
It's the
that. Carol,
square,
I
not
did this
the,
drawing
not,
and
it's not the dashed line, Bruce. It's the square up by the current launch
gotcha,
dock.
Penny. Gotcha. Yeah, that's fire hydrant. It's existing.
Okay. Okay, can we go over the numbers? And I don't know, Karen, do we need to do a motion before we go over the numbers? Because I have some questions about the numbers. I understand the concept and I have questions about the numbers.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's go ahead and do a motion and then have discussion over the bid and the proposal itself. Anyone want to make a motion?
Why don't you go ahead and make the motion?
Okay, so I will move to that we approve, let me get the wording here. Move that we recommend that the Board of Directors approve $42,700, including tax allocated from the CRRF account to remove the existing boat launch traffic arm and install a new asset that includes a second gate arm and bollards to enclose a vehicle maneuvering area and provide controlled access to the second boat launch ramp. Did you second that, Leslie? Okay.
So the question that I have is I don't, if I followed this correctly and I look at the proposal from Gateway Controls for 28,818, and I look at the request from you, I guess it's from Bruce, it says 28,818, which includes tax. However, the attachment from Gateway Controls specifically says that tax is not included.
Yes. If you look at my area there, I included tax. Again, I'll need to look up the page.
Well, but I don't understand the numbers, Bruce. That's my issue, is that you have Gateway Controls at 28,818, so 28,818, which is the exact same amount that they have on their bid, 28,818, but that says that it does not include sales tax.
Oh, I see what you're saying, yeah.
So I wasn't sure whether or not everything
Oh,
that
you're-
was on that, whether or not everything that was on that Gateway Controls sheet was actually what we're ultimately doing, or having them be responsible for providing, or whether there was something that came off of that and somehow or another the tax magically totaled up to the same number.
I'm looking at one that says includes tax.
Pardon me?
Right.
On page 8, it says include taxes or includes.
I
tax.
understand what that says, but the backup documentation on page 9 from Gateway Controls says it's required but not included in the above price Washington state sales taxes.
That's weird, because isn't in the
Good
back
catch,
there?
Penny. You're absolutely right. It does not include taxes.
Right.
We'll
So,
probably have to amend that, Penny. That's a good
Okay.
catch.
yeah, I got it. Yeah, that's so then my question was, because I didn't see a security solutions, and maybe I missed it, but I didn't see a security solutions page with their bid on the $2,500. I wasn't sure whether or not that actually included tax. But then Bruce, I saw your summary of all of the things that Sudden Valley was going to provide, and I saw that it did include tax. So, so that $7,500 I was okay because it does include tax, but the other two items, the gateway controls definitely doesn't, and security solutions, I don't know whether it does or it doesn't because there's nothing in the package from them.
Yeah. When I got that quote from them, that was a verbal quote. They're the only ones that are going to do it. Does that answer? No.
Bruce, on the quote that you got from Security Solutions, do you know if they included tax in that quote?
Actually, no, to be truthful with you, I don't. We talked about the scope of the project, which is essentially connecting wires and putting in a card reader. And talking with them, they gave me a price of somewhere between $1,500 and $2,000.
Yeah, so if you were to recommend approval of this, you would need to word it so that it includes applicable tax. And then we could calculate out, we can look at the bid. I don't have it on hand.
Yeah, I'd like to see that security solutions bid, and even if it's a range, and because it sounds like Gateway is going to do everything else, and we're going to do the hard stuff. Is that correct, or is Gateway just providing the materials?
Well, Gateway will have I'll call it turnkey gate system. It'll fully function. The card reader itself will be taken off of the current one that we have, and then another new one added on that. That part will be done by Security Solutions.
Okay.
Actually, yeah, the wires are going to be pulled by Gateway's part of it. So if you look at it, they're going to mount two card readers on a post and hook the wires up to it.
And two card readers just to be redundant?
Actually, we're looking at going in and out. What I was hoping to do is have one on each gate or each side. In other words, when you come in, you would be on the, I'll say the north side or the right side. You'd step out, swipe your card. Now, as you come out, you'd have to get out of your car, go under the gate, over there to where you just entered. So you'd have a card reader on the driver's side going out also.
Okay. Okay.
Is Gateway Controls installing the gate itself, or are we doing that? So
No.
this
Yeah,
includes installation. I just want to confirm because I know some of the work we're doing ourselves.
sure. What they're doing is installing the gates and the power and the control wires to the gates.
Okay, I mean, I'm kind of lost in the numbers right now. So, because what I'm not clear on here is, and I mean, it's a lot of money, so I'm just trying to make sure that I understand the components. And I know I'm only talking a few $100 difference here. I know you rounded up from the $7,200 with in-house labor to $7,500, and then added another 10% contingency on that. And I'm also recognizing that, you know, if we don't need the contingency, we don't spend it, and that goes back into SURF. So it's, I mean, we only pay the bills that we get. We're not, you know, just saying, oh, we're going to put this money aside and we're going to find a way to use it. So I want to be sensitive to that. So I want to make sure that we've got enough money in here and that we aren't overinflating the total amount. So,
Well, one of the tricky parts down there, when we put the card readers on the docks themselves, we actually hired base side to come in and do the hydrovacing of it. They thought it'd take 3 to 4 days. 2 weeks later, in a jackhammer, they finished. So we're kind of in an unknown in the trenching part. That's going to be done by Gateway, but when we put those card readers at the docks, they ended up having to come up with extra money just because of the toughness of it.
yeah, I'm not objecting to a contingency by any stretch of the imagination. That's,
Okay,
I
good.
mean, that's the right thing to have in there. It's just that I wasn't sure how we were managing the security solutions one and the bollards as well. So, so how do we want to go forward with this? Because I mean, there's questions about the numbers. We don't have the right numbers. We don't have the right total. How can we go? What do we want to do about this?
Who else did we try to get bids from?
There's nobody else.
Did you read his
No one
email?
else, Colin. That's,
Yeah.
Nobody else?
no, there's a monopoly on it.
Yeah. So if you look at who has gate controls that they can install and interface with a card reader system, there isn't. The closest that I could come up with was, I think it was Skagit County. And at that point, I said, okay, if we get a bid from Skagit County, we've got to pay travel time also. And then they're going to have to, I'll use the way word, crash into our card reader system. They
Well,
get it
why wouldn't we still want to get a bid from Skagit County? That's not that far away. I mean, if worst things that happens is it's higher than the Bellingham one.
Okay. Maddie, you're muted.
Like Bruce was saying, this is the only company that directly works with security solutions for these type of systems. That was explained in the packet that we gave to you guys. And so that's why we're only presenting this one quote.
I'm assuming that the company that installs gated systems in Skagit County works with a security company. Might not be Security Solutions, but they obviously work with somebody, right?
Well, let me try it this way, Colin. They probably do work at different security systems. Do you want them hacking into Seven Valley's card access system? That's a proprietary for Security Solutions. Does that make sense to you?
We would most likely have to switch to a completely different access card system if we went with a different company. That's the point.
Got
We use this access card for everything, for the pools, for the gym, and we don't want to have to start a brand new system just for this one amenity.
Yeah, Colin, we'd have to switch everything over. Everybody's access cards to everything would have to be switched at that point.
Understood. Sorry.
I'd like to see the numbers, accurate numbers, before I would vote on this.
Well, that's what I was going to bring up. Bruce, can you get us more accurate numbers for the next Finance Committee meeting?
Absolutely.
We don't have any dirt window issues?
Not that I can think of.
Okay.
Can they just take it directly to the board tomorrow? And just let them know we didn't have the right numbers. We listened to
Colin, I'd run it back through you guys.
I'd rather go to the board myself. If I've got to defend it, I'd like to answer Penny's questions.
Colin, I won't change the process. I'd rather bring it right back through the committee.
Okay.
So do we just table this motion to table this?
Motion to postpone the vote until the next committee meeting.
Okay. Is that a motion, Leslie? Then I'll second it.
We recently learned that motion to table is not the right one to use. We were instructed by our parliamentarian. So motion to postpone to the next meeting when we have.
Postpone until a time certain. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
To the next finance committee meeting. Right.
All right. Thank you for the parliamentarian.
So I have a few more questions. I know I came in a little late on it and maybe they've been asked, but I just wanted to see, since we have Maddie here, I want to ask you some questions about the maps and the changes. I understand why we're moving the kayak over, but we're also moving some more picnic area. Is that just existing?
That was a proposal.
Oh,
That area is not going to be used for any parking or anything. It'd be
right.
nice to have a grassy area. But that's
I think
not
that
in
was
this
the
proposal.
concept.
Okay, so the kayak is not being moved over. It's just a proposal to move it over.
No, the kayaks are where they are. They all got moved back to the spit. So that this photo is from several years ago.
Oh.
But from Google Maps, they only update it every few years, when they do aerial photos. So this is an out of date, photo, but it accurately shows where the launches are, which is why we used it.
No, I meant like page 13 where it says relocate kayak or boat launch. So that's where the kayak launch is now?
Those are where they used to be before the spit project happened. So if you go
And now
down there,
they're here with the curtain.
what
Page
page is that?
18.
They're just in a different configuration. They
Yeah.
were there, then they moved across, and now they moved back onto the spit in a different configuration. So,
Yeah. So if you go down there today, that's how they are. They're not going to move. They're on the spit side now, where they originally used to be.
And that'll be easy enough access for the new gate, the launch gate for the whoever needs to.
It's completely, yeah, it's not going to interfere at all.
And where are we putting the new kayak storage to raise more money for the gate? Is there going to be more?
There's that area that's on page 16 that says rental picnic area with table and fire pit. There's a lot of room in there to add more picnic or more kayak racks. Sorry. So they're all just going to go in the same configuration they are now. I would encourage you to go down there and just take a look at how the kayak racks are now.
okay. Should we move on to our pothole repairs request? Is that you, Joe, or is that?
That's me.
All right.
Good evening, everyone. In your package, you will see a list of potholes that we had Bruce and P&W go around and determine which ones were the worst. We only have $20,000 in potholes this year. So once we went through, identified everything, we took the ones that Bruce felt was the worst, and we came up with the ones that what you have on that list, and that's what I'm proposing. You will see that I have four bids actually, from Huizenga, Granite, WRS, and John Ritter or J. Ritter Asphalt. Before you guys go any further, yes, I had them look at some stuff in Southern Court while they were out here, just so I could get some pricing and ideas for stuff going forward. So what you're looking at for the potholes is Schedule A. Okay, so that's the only thing that we're working on right now tonight. The other schedules are for stuff, like I said, if I needed some baseline to get stuff going potentially down the road a year or so out. So I just wanted to get a start. So what you have there is you can see all of the bids. Huizenga came in at the cheapest for the Schedule A work. So we have used Huizenga in the past. They are a reputable company, and they will be able to have it done before the dirt window closes.
So I'll make a motion to recommend that the board approve $18,655.49 to be allocated from the Capital Roads Reserve Fund for the pothole repairs as specified in the requested memo.
A second.
So the only thing that I had was like, wow, Does, does Ritter not like us, or are they like, do they just want to do something astronomical because they didn't want to do the work, or?
Penny, I couldn't answer that question.
I mean, the others are, you know, kind of in the same ballpark. I mean, so.
Yeah, you know, they are all kind of the same. I don't know what Ritter was up to.
Yeah.
Again, not for me to decide. That's their call, their business. But like I said, we've used Huizenga before. I believe we used them last year to do some work for us, potholes and stuff. So they're very familiar with the community, and you know, that's why I would recommend them.
Yeah.
I think Ritter just got their zero a little too much on the LS mobilization, because they're 20,000 compared to everyone else's.
Well,
Maybe
you
their
know,
zero is just off.
Decimal point error, huh?
Again, not for me to decide.
Right.
That is, even if it was, you'd still be $57,000.
Yeah. I think it's all their zeros, all their decimals.
Yeah, you take all the zeros out, and then maybe, well, you still be at 57,000. So you're still high no matter how you
So
count.
we don't need to do a 10%, whatever contingency on these.
No, these are pretty cut and dry. They go right along and know what they're doing, and they've already measured them out. They know you can see the, on page 3 of that, you see the size or feet or square feet. So they've already measured them out. They know their material. They know what it's going to take to get it done. And again, this is what they do. So, you know, they've provided us all the information, and I think 18,000 for that scope of work isn't too bad, really.
Hey, Joe, can I just ask, when we send this to the board, can we change the wording on the second sentence in background? It just says, of the 4 bids, the lowest qualified contractor has been selected. And I know you mean the lowest price, but it sounds like the lowest like.
That's how it's worded. That's how it's supposed to be. It's the lowest qualified of the 4.
Oh, it is?
Yes.
It sounds, when I first read it, I was like, they're not qualified, but I get it. I guess I'm just not familiar with the terminology. Okay, thank you. Call the question, or do we have more discussion on this? All those in favor of recommending to the board the $18,655.49, including tax, to be allocated from the capital roads account for 2020 potholes repairs as stated in the memo, signify by raising your hand or saying aye. Okay, looks like it's unanimous then. Any opposed? Okay. You guys, I don't know, were we supposed to vote on the motion to postpone? We didn't do that. We need to go back and do that, Leslie?
Yeah, I think we need to.
Okay, let's go back and vote on the motion to postpone the Marina gate arm. Does anybody, okay. All in favor of postponing the vote on the Marina gate arm, say aye or raise your hand.
Aye. Okay.
Okay, any opposed to postponing that vote? Okay. Trang, did you vote on that or did you abstain?
He's on mute.
Sorry, what was the vote?
It was just to postpone the Marina gate arm. I just didn't see your hand, so I just want to make sure.
Postpone.
Postpone, okay, got it. Okay. All right, thanks, guys. Okay, so we're on to a bunch of updates from Joel. The audit, the reserve study, budget discussions.
Can you hear me?
We can.
Can now.
Okay, I'll start off with the audit. So with the audit, as you know, we got a later start this year with the auditor selections and stuff. Normally the audit stuff, the ball starts getting rolling back in March, I believe is what it looks like. So for us, in terms of like getting the audit, basically the ball started rolling for us like late June. So, but I talked to the auditors actually just today again just to see where we're at in terms of they're churning through everything. And they're thinking at this point that just be on the safe side to schedule the draft in October. It probably won't make a September cutoff in terms of way that these dates line up for the finance committee meetings. So October right now is the date that they feel tentatively. I'll give you an update if that changes at all, if that can be moved up or but October I think is the date for that. Reserve study. So, and I've also contacted the reserve study. So basically, so the reserve study, they said, our specialist, he's just about ready to give this to the reviewer, which means we'll probably get this back pretty shortly. I'm hoping we get this back next week sometime to have the updated copy of that for the 2020. Now, in terms of the budget update, basically at this point, Karen, unless you want to chime in. So at this point, board members have been able to send questions into Andrew Antrigan, the board president, and they've been forwarded to us. We'll address those tomorrow in the budget update discussion. And I know there's a slot on the agenda to discuss the budget some more. So we'll address those questions tomorrow. I don't know if there's anything, Karen, that you wanted to add to that.
Yeah, I'll just add, I think you guys know, but so once the board votes to adopt the budget, it kicks off the 60-day window and we have to have it in front of people to vote. So we can't technically vote on it until September 3rd. So we're just having continuing discussions until then. We did have a virtual town hall last Saturday. Trang, I believe you were there as well. So there were a lot of community questions, but related to the 2021 budget itself, the main ones that I heard were related to the economy in general and our collection rate in context of that. There were some questions about the reserve study and PPP, which doesn't necessarily impact next year's budget so much, but we covered those. Talks about marina costs and, because there's a change in that. It looks different year over year. And then, there was actually quite a bit of just talk about, how things work in general. I think having the managers were there to answer questions. And so community members were just asking questions in general about how things worked. Yeah, so that's kind of where we are. I didn't know if you guys, I just kind of want to give an update so you guys kind of know where we are in the process and what's being discussed about it. If you have any questions, I am happy to. Yeah, Colin.
Are there any material changes that have happened since we sent it to the board, out of curiosity?
No, we have not made any changes to the budget. We requested for golf to present us with a balanced budget that we will review some numbers tomorrow night. And I don't think that, we didn't. There was some discussion about salary increases and some discussion about the collection rate again, but no changes were made to the budget itself yet. So there'll be more discussion tomorrow night. I don't know if there will be any changes that come out of the discussion tomorrow night or not, but it would still all be draft until we vote to finally approve it on the 3rd. Do you have anything to add to that? Leslie, am I missing anything major?
No, we're still in the discussing stage, and there actually have not been changes. Aside the two things that Karen brought up on the increases and the golf budget are still under discussion.
What did you mean by asking for a balanced budget from golf?
So what's currently in there for operations, expenses exceed revenues, golf revenues by about $25,000. So what was requested was that Brian present to us basically where revenues equal expenses. So.
And I would hope that what he would also include would be if they do a balanced budget, what are the things that are in jeopardy?
Yeah, the consequences of such. Another thing we'll be talking about tomorrow night is the documents that go in the ballot booklet itself. We've been reviewing the RCW and what it actually requires. Interestingly enough, we don't necessarily have to provide that dues projection worksheet in the ballot materials itself. There's another table that does cover what the surplus or deficiency in the reserve study is. So that was one thing that we kind of wanted to go back and look at our requirements in the RCW and compare that to, you know, the information in the tables we're providing, and then make a decision based on what we actually need to provide and what we just want to provide because we believe that it's helpful to the membership. So that will be a portion of it as well. It doesn't change the budget itself. It's related to the reserves, but just what those tables are that we put into the ballot booklet itself.
You've
Any
learned
other-
something, you've learned something different than what was done in the past, is what I'm hearing you say.
Well, there's kind of also a question of like, see, there's a table in the Measure 1 that lists the deficiency on a per member basis, so to speak, you know, for fully funded reserves and stuff. And then there are a couple other tables that actually show the fully funded reserves table and then the baseline table. And then Linda Bradley was questioning whether or not those two tables could be superfluous. I mean, those are just basically the tables that where the numbers are derived from to show the deficiency on a per member basis. So that was another question. Basically, maybe Linda was thinking that possibly we could pare down the Measure 1 a little more in terms of from a page count.
Regardless of what we put in the ballot book, we can provide information online. I'm already working with the communications committee and some members, Oryx and some members of staff, putting together some budget documents and frequently asked questions and things like that. So we do really want to be as open and transparent about the budget and be able to answer questions and provide the information, whether or not we decide to put it into the ballot booklet itself. So that's the standpoint that I'm coming from, is that even if we chose not to include something, we could still always provide it to the membership online or in another format through an e-blast or whatever. So if you guys have any strong opinions on that, let me know. I'll take it to the board. All right, so I'm going to move on to the next. No new business, so we just have our June financial statements to go through.
Can I just ask one other question that I meant to ask? Sorry. The reserve study that's due the first week in September is therefore not the reserve study that will be used for the budget AGM package. Is that correct?
Say that again, Penny.
The reserve study update that you said was not going to be ready until sometime next week, you thought at the earliest. That's not the data that will be used for the budget package?
If I get it, if we get it back, then I'll certainly use it. If I don't get it back, then I could take the 2019. See, the 2019 shows, reserve study shows a breakdown by year from 2019 through like 2048, I believe. Then I would just take up with the 2020 line below that. And then I would, but Linda and I also talked about that too. Then I could put an explanatory note discussing that, you know, if the reserve study wasn't back in time, then I would put that data on the website, you know, at that point with that information as well, so the members can see it. Meaning if it didn't make it in time for like a mail out.
I got it. Thank you.
Yeah.
But that's a good question, Penny. There's actually, so tomorrow night, we're also going to be going over a little bit more detailed calendar as it relates to when we have to get data in, these tables, these supporting documents, the review by the attorney, and when it actually has to go to final print. So it looks like there is possibly a little bit of time if we know the format and we're just updating numbers and stuff. I think from what I briefly looked at today, it looks like we might have even a couple of weeks to be able to get that in, to get the most up-to-date information in there. But what we've been working off of, there's made some changes, but I don't think there would be anything, you're not expecting anything surprising coming back from the 2020 reserve study, right? You kind of.
No, because
expected it.
yeah, so the reserve study is just going to include all the updates that I'm telling them, like all the surf loan stuff, all of that stuff that got closed out in 2019. And then anything else in there, I told them to remove a few little things the department managers told me that have been kicking around on reserve studies. But then other than that, any other item on that reserve study is still going to retain the same replacement year date and just any updated replacement values. That's essentially about it that will show up on the reserve study.
Okay, thank you.
And then of course, they take that in conjunction with our reserve balances at January 1, 2020 or December 31, 2019, which I've reported that to them also.
Uh-huh.
Okay, do you want to go over the financials then, Joel?
Sure, yeah.
Unless there's other questions on that. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut anyone off. If you still have questions.
Also, Linda too, when we were talking, so she's shooting to get this out to the printers, I believe September, it's either 8th or 9th, one of those 2 days. I'll go ahead and go over the financial statements now. So I'm just picking up on page 20. So we're just starting out with the balance sheet right here. There's nothing too exciting about the balance sheet, which is a good thing, I guess. Net operating assets are all nicely positive. Those have gone up. Total capital, current assets, cash balances, basically reserves have gone up, which we would expect if our spending isn't going over what we're taking in. And of course, I pointed this out last month, the PPP loan liability amount, which is showing up now in the balance sheet under operating loan liabilities, the operating section, 357,700. And the last footnote on the balance sheet explains what that is and so on and so forth. Now page 21. So basically, now I'll start off with, I'm talking about the collection rate right here, second column from the very right. So it's ticked up to 93.9% at the end of June 2020. Now, at May 2020, it was 93.7%, so it went up 0.2%. Last year, at the end of June 2019, it was 96.4% in relation. Now, month to date for June, it was 94.6%. So it's trending up already in June. Month to date in 2019, it was 96%. Now, I've already calculated the July numbers for the collection rates. So July month to date, just for the month, so it was 94.6% month to date in June. And then in July, that's ticked up now to 98.2% collection rate, which is great. Now in July of 2019 for the month, it was 99.8%. So it's below what it was last year, but it's moving in a nice positive trend. July year to date, it was 94. So it went June year to date, 93.9%. So that now has the effect in July year to date of bumping that up to 94.6% collection rate for the year at the end of July. At the end of July 2019, it was 96.9%. So not as high as it was last year, but it's definitely trending in a good direction. Now under the net income, net operating income, so we've now swung positive, which is good. So now we're up $12,035. Last year at this time, we were $287,693. So in terms of, for budget, we're 167,500 worse than budget, which we would expect, not taking in approximately $200,000 of dues back in April. In terms of expenses, if we look at it just on an expenditure level, for the month, we were better than budget by 28,427. Last year at this time, we were better than budget by 11,262 for June. Year to date, expenditure wise, we were better than budget by 48,524. Last year at this time, we were worse than budget by 15,677. So even though we've been dragging in revenues, we've been better, more positive with expenditures. And that also takes into account by the fact of the snow removal. Like last year, snow removal, there was approximately $94,600 in snow removal, but that was charged to UDR. So this year in maintenance just took the hit for all that snow removal this year. Now, I was talking about the expense revenue ratio. The prior months we were over 100% because obviously we had more expenses than revenues, but now we're under 100%. It's 99.3% expenses to revenue ratio. We were 103.4% in May. Lower number is always better when it comes to this ratio. Last year at this time we were 84.9%, which just means for every dollar of revenue we take in, last year we spent 84.9 cents versus this time every dollar of revenue we took in, we spent 99.3 cents. You think about it like that. Now, if we turn the next page over to page 22, which is the reserve cash balance, this is a handy sheet. So I've talked about this obviously in prior months, but I guess the bottom line for you is net usable cash. So at the very second number from the bottom, the bold number, that's where you're seeing net usable cash at projected at 12/31/2020. So that's taking into account all the dues and what we project the dues that we'll take in. This takes into account that we didn't take in any dues in April also. Then it's listing out any obligations from all capital projects approved. It's basically assuming like we spent everything for whatever you've approved. And then your board carryover, and that's essentially what you have to work with, 886,646 for SURF, 1.5 million for roads, and then so on and so forth for the other funds. Now, if we turn the page to page 23, so we're looking at operations now, looking at the income statement again, but now we're looking at it from a departmental standpoint. And for golf, actual revenue for golf, 107,861 for the month of June. Last year, it was 98,941. So golf is doing well for June. That's an increase of $8,920 that better than last month or last year during June. Total expenditures for golf. So I'm adding up the actual salary and benefits column plus the actual other expenses column, adding both those two numbers together for golf. The expenditures, 84,153. Last year, month to date for June, they were 96,758. So expenditures dropped by $12,605, which is good. Net income for golf for the month of June, 23,708. Last year for June, 2,183. So June's net income is 21,525 better than it was last year at this time.
Awesome.
Now, we'll turn the page to page 24. So we'll look at this now year to date for all the departments and everything. And then I'll just quickly cover golf again. So golf year, so we're looking at this year to date through June. Golf revenue, 455,457. Last year, they were $480,633 year to date revenue. And of course, keep in mind that golf was closed for approximately 42 days during the mandated shutdown. This is a decrease in revenue of 25,176 for the year. Now that's getting better because at May year to date, golf was $34,996 less than they were at the end of May 2019 year to date. So now at the end of June 2020 versus June 2019, now they're less by 25,176. So they're making up ground. Expenditures, total expenditures for golf, 385,000 approximately. Now, expenditures year to date last year for June at the end of June, or at the end of June 2019, 434,915. So golf is about $50,000 better off expenditure-wise than they were last year at this time. Net income for golf, 70,458. Last year, year-to-date, the end of June, their net income was 45,718. So now you're starting to see the benefits of the decreased expenses in there as well. So they're better off this year than they were last year at the end of June by 24,740 in terms of net income. Now, if you look at the departments, that far right column, net, better, worse, or you're seeing whether they're better or worse than budget. The only thing worse than budget right now is maintenance, which we would expect to see. Maintenance took that, they absorbed all the snow removal expense in 2020. Now, 2019, we had $94,600 of snow removal expense, but that was charged to UDR instead. So you're seeing a difference between the two of basically where those expenses are landing. In terms of the rec center net income, net income loss for rec center, 160,525 loss. Last year at this time, 180,241 loss. So they're better by 19,716. Of course, rec has been closed, so their expenditures are a lot less at this time as well. And I guess that covers like the big picture of the income statement. If anyone had any questions.
Hey, Joel.
Yeah.
Going back to page 23, you mentioned for the month of June that golf did better in revenue,
Yes,
right?
that's correct.
Why
Yeah.
is there a negative 5,739? What's that then?
Oh, now when I said they did better, I was comparing June 2020 to June 2019 is what I was comparing for that.
So they're doing worse than their budget. Is that
Yeah.
what it is?
Yeah, that's true too. But also like in terms of like with the budget software, it could have been how they set the budget. So what I did this year, which is probably going to be a little different, is like, for example, when I load the 2021 budget in here, like when the department managers, like when Brian, when he gave me his budget figures, it's broken out by month. So I put them in exactly by month, like in the budget software. So whatever he felt would happen during a certain month. Now, if a person doesn't do that, they could just take the revenue number, and the easier way is just to say spread it out evenly. So then you can get these kind of, it's just 1/12 every single month, and it might not be the most, in terms of like a whole year, it's going to be right, but month to month, it could start to be skewed a little.
Yeah, I was thinking, wouldn't you want to do it based on your previous month instead of just dividing it by 12? Because of course the summer would be the higher,
Yeah, so some of these budgets for 2020, like on a month-to-month basis, there could be kind of a little skewing going on. But when I loaded the budget for 2021, when I was building the budget, I put it in month by month, meaning whatever they thought would happen that month, that's what went in.
That's what happened with the marina then as well, because it looked like.
Oh, I would have to take a look in the budget software to see how that got in the 2020 versus like now for 2021, whatever, like for example, when Mandy did she gave me the marina budget, I put it in month by month what she felt would happen. Now, last year it could have been too that someone, okay, this is what you think will happen for the year. Okay, just spread it out. There's like a button you can click, like the quick method, just spread it out evenly. But any of these times I'm quoting these numbers, I'm comparing like what happened in June 2020 to June 2019 for a comparison for a year over a year on a monthly basis.
Joel, you gave us a lot of information verbally on our collection rate, comparing different months and comparing to last year, but I don't see any numbers in our packet. Is that something you could start including for us?
Oh, you mean in your finance packet?
Yeah, it seems like we've been inching it up. There's been a lot of questions around that, and it sounds like we're tracking great. It would just be to have that. I could just put like another page in here that just has that. Yeah.
Like everything that I told you.
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
And I mean, and the numbers, even though some of those numbers are not as good as last year, we're still
Oh, yeah.
ahead of what we budgeted. So
Yeah. Yeah, in terms of the collection rate, like when we started looking at these collection rates, like I honestly just didn't know what precisely was going to come in with, because this pandemic thing, you know, how it affected it, just no one knew. So I'm actually encouraged to see these numbers coming in as well as they are.
Yeah, because I believe the last meeting they had at town hall, a lot of questions were, or a lot of community were expressing concern about the 95% collection rate that we're budgeting for next year, being that this year may not produce what we think will be 95 or so, but.
Oh, sure, yeah. And that's something like for going into next year that we'll definitely keep an eye on in terms of collection rate.
So we're almost there, right? So we're at 94.6.
94.6 at the end of July. Yeah. So if we kept, and it seems to be looking back historically that these later months in the year seem to be better months too in terms of collection rates. So if we keep going in this direction, you know, who knows, maybe we could inch out 96 or so.
so as of now, for 2020, we budgeted 93%, right?
No, 92%.
Oh, 92%. Okay,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
for this year, we're looking good, and we've gone through a pandemic. And then for next year, we were budgeting 95, right?
95 is right.
Which if our best guess would probably be at this point, based on historical information, we'll probably be over 95.
Hopefully, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, if we keep going the way that we're going, we'll be over 95 for certain.
And we haven't heard any more or any chatter about any of the members having issues making their dues or anything like that?
No, I haven't had anything. I don't know about Joel, but I've had no one.
Yeah, I myself haven't heard anything, like any sort of, you know, like real kind of chatter about people not being able to pay dues. Of course, now I'm not saying that's not the case, but I myself haven't heard anything personally. The funny thing, like when I calculated the July dues and saw the collection rate, I actually walked out and talked to Gil, you know, accounts receivable, and I said, boy, like people here at Sudden Valley, they are really diligent at paying their dues. That's for certain.
That auto bill pay that does it for you.
Yeah.
You guys have any other questions or anything else, or we can move to member questions and comments? John, do we have any questions? Any attendees that want to come in?
Terribly sorry, didn't realize
That's okay.
it was directed at me. We do have a few attendees tonight, and it looks like one has raised their hand. I'll bring Ann on over.
Okay.
There you go, Ann. Just go ahead and give your name and address, and you are in the meeting.
Hi, Ann Cope, 52 Louisview Drive. So my comment is about these broad security issue claims. With no actual data, I really wish that would stop, because looking at the marina numbers, we have 2 people, 2 non-residents out of 88. Two non-residents use wet slips. 88 residents use them. Dry slips, 23 non-residents, 165 residents. Day passes, season day passes, 8 non-residents, 30 residents. And honestly, it's overpriced, so I'm surprised there are that many. Day passes cost $44 here for non-residents. They are free at Bloedel, $7 at state parks, $12 in Seattle, $9 at Fairhaven. So nobody's going to come here and pay $44 for a day pass, a launch. So all of this talk about non-residents really really irritates me because there's no security ports backing that up. We've been asking, and the numbers just don't make sense. The numbers show the majority, our marina is basically private, let's be real. So we're to believe that a swarm of people came in knowing that a gate was down for 3 weeks. I mean, please, it's really, really ridiculous. And again, $44 when that's outrageously priced. First of all, there's no reason for that unless you just really do want to keep it private and don't want to make any money. So I would suggest it would be very helpful if there are security issues, then you have the numbers to talk about them and you actually talk about them, but these broad statements have to stop. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Ann. Have a good evening. I'll bring you back to the attendees here. Anybody else like to speak? Just use the raise hand feature in Zoom. And not seeing any further hands at this time. Looks like Train's got her hand up.
Yeah, I actually would like to kind of answer Ann's query. I think we could get the numbers if she wants status-wise from AIS, because I believe I was there one weekend Saturday, and they did mention how many boats and yachts they had seen or given permits to. So I don't know if there's a way to contact them to get the numbers as far as during the time when the gate was unopened or not secure, but thought that might be a suggestion if we don't have our own numbers to supply.
So Trang, you're saying AIS could possibly have some
I know they
statistics?
did, because when I asked them that one Saturday about how crazy it's been without the gate, and they mentioned that, yeah, they double the amount what they usually do on the one day. I believe she said she did 60 launches, which normally is only like 30 or so. But again, it's unusual time with the gate was not secure or not locked. So I'm sure Andrea probably has some numbers too, since she's there, but I for sure spoke to the people who were there at the AIS, and they were saying it was unusual for that many, especially since they were avoiding the public launch. So if that is an option, I don't know. I just thought that would be a good resource, or maybe since they're the one that pass out permits and stuff.
Yeah, that's helpful. And they're there on the weekends, correct? Almost every weekend?
Every weekend. They log every single boat that is launched.
Right.
I
Good to
mean,
know.
it's only till 5, but
Wasn't Ann saying more that it's not that there aren't launches, but the people that are launching are actually, they're Sudden Valley people. They're not non-Sudden Valley people.
that they don't know. They just saw the traffic wise as far as.
It was more that it's, you know, let's not assume,
No.
I think it's her point. I don't want to, I'm not trying to speak for her, but that,
I'm terribly sorry, Colin. She does have her hand re-raised. I could bring her back over and she could clarify if you'd like.
sure.
There we go, Ann. I'm going to bring you back over.
Yes, Colin, that was correct. And on the 95-degree day that we had that Sunday, there was one day pass, day launch sold to a resident on Saturday and one sold on Sunday. So again, we don't have non-residents swarming to our marina. There's nothing to support that. The numbers that I read come directly from Andrea. So 2 non-residents have wet slips here out of an 88 residents. 23 non-residents have dry slips, 165 residents. 8 seasonal non-resident passes, 30 residents. So the numbers clearly show it's a Sudden Valley marina. So I don't believe that a 3-week gate being raised, suddenly the word got out and people were flocking to Sudden Valley. Nothing supports that. The security reports haven't supported that. And, and they're not being given out properly. So I just, again, I don't like hearing, well, we had a number of issues. We had many issues. That could be 3, that could be 20. But the way that a lot of people are perceiving that is that we are being inundated with people coming here causing problems. And I don't believe that's true. And I would like it to stop. It's dangerous. And it's causing problems.
Hey,
Thank
Ann.
you. Yeah.
I guess I just want to comment. I don't think the primary justification for the one gate was because of security issues. In fact, I kind of tried to shut that down when Andrea brought it up. I think the bigger justification was that we need to make sure it's probably important that we keep control over access for boats that haven't passed the AIS certification from accessing the lake through our launch. And
That's right. And that's all that's needed. That's a legitimate reason. But when the other stuff is added, that's a problem and it's unnecessary. And again, the cost, that charging non-residents $44 when it's, $7, $9, $12 at the most everywhere else, is saying we want to keep it private, which is fine if you're going to be upfront about it. But if the marina is to make money, if it's supposed to be making money, $44 is unacceptable.
Well, that's a discussion we can have. We look at that every year and we can discuss whether that should be lowered or whether we want to keep it high, because we don't want people to use it. I don't have a agenda or a desire either way, but I'm open to hearing what people would like to do with that.
Well, I think that's an important conversation to have. Is it a private marina, or do you want to make money by involving the public?
It's a good conversation.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ann. Linda has her hand raised. I can bring her on over here. Good evening, Linda. I've brought you on over.
Can you hear me?
Sure can.
Okay, so the whole thing with making our marina public, if I'm not mistaken, Leslie is about the only person there that's going to be able to help me much. When we filed our 501c4, which there's been a lot of talk about lately, there were a couple of our amenities or facilities that were mentioned to the IRS that were smaller and had limited access. The adult center pool and the adult center and the marina were 2 of them. A couple of years ago, Blodell had a close down and they sent people to our marina. I don't object to non-members getting a dry slip, getting a wet slip if they want. But when you start having trucks and trailers and stuff parked, we don't have a lot of extra room down in the marina for these people to park their boats and their trailers. They sometimes park to where they block residents, so they can't even launch their boats. And quite frankly, I really don't, this whole thing with public launching, I want the marina to make money, yes. But if it's to the point of where people are in the parking for the dog park, if people start parking their boats and trailers there, they park all the way around the roads there. And then how do people access the launches and stuff? It's just, I don't know. For me, it's a double-edged sword. I certainly don't mind people coming out here and having dry moorage or wet slips. But as far as people and day passes, you know what, $44, if it keeps them away, I don't object to that. Blodell, they have tax dollars that back up that park. Let's remember that. We're not getting any of that county money, folks. So, You know, you may want to rethink lowering things unless the county would like to give us some money towards it. I don't know. That's all I got.
Thanks,
right.
Linda. I do appreciate that. I think that is something that we always have to keep in mind when there's the financial aspect of it, and then there is the member usability of it. And we need to find a good balance and make sure that we're not making decisions that will harm our residents' ability to access and use our amenities because we're just looking for more revenue or whatever. So thank you. I do appreciate your comments. Anything else? Anyone else want to speak up? All right. I'm going to adjourn. I guess we need a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn. Second.
All right. 8:06 p.m. Thanks, guys. We'll see you
Thank you.
next
Have a good week.
month.
See you guys tomorrow night.